The cosmos moves in harmony, weaving cycles of transformation and renewal. As we stand in the final days of this Tzolkin cycle, we enter a significant celestial window, marked by a total lunar eclipse, the powerful equinox portal, and Venus's interior conjunction. These alignments aren't just astronomical events, but signposts guiding us toward greater synchronization with natural time. What messages are encoded within these celestial rhythms? How can we harness their wisdom to recalibrate and realign? Welcome to Celestial Synchronization, Venus Cycles, and the Equinox Portal.
Tune in with the Galactic Spin podcast and expand your view. Galactic Spin podcast and expand your view. Tune in with the Galactic Spin podcast and expand your view.
In Lakesh, and welcome to the Galactic Spin podcast. My name is Mikuak Rai, Kit 126, joined by my perfect analog kin, brother Ruben Llinás, tapping in for episode 24 of this 52 episode ceremonial journey. In Lakesh, brother Ruben, how's it going, man? How you feeling?
Alakim, brother Makua, I'm feeling really excited about tonight's episode. We are entering actually, since the last eclipse from last week, I think we are all feeling the effects of this window, this powerful window of cosmic portals. And there is so much to explore today on this rhythmic Skywalker day. It's a great day to explore space, so very excited to be here and giving thanks to all the people who are tuning in now or in the future. And please like, share, and hit the subscribe button right now to kick the algorithm and help us bring this information to more and more people every 7 days.
Absolutely. Lots to tap in with and about. I just want to also note that we're nearing our 26th episode, which will mark the midway point of
Hmm.
this experience. And it's just been a great experience together with you and with our team. Shout out to Ishel for that fantastic intro
Yes.
video tonight. Amazing
Yes.
as usual. Just each time it just continues to add such a value and a higher frequency to the effort. And certainly
Yes.
Alejandra rounding us out and grounding our 260 structure for this effort, So just want to acknowledge that because
Yes.
it's a labor of love. It's something
Hmm.
we're committed to helping see through because we really identify the importance of this harmonic node of what we're calling the golden intersection of timelines. We thought so much of this that we wanted to really create this space in a very deliberate way to invite others out there who happen to be tuning in, who are resonating with
Hmm.
this happening as well. And so just looking forward to how this continues to evolve and emerge in real time. And certainly tonight's episode is going to explore some of the beauty and the elegance woven within the tapestry of timekeeping, particularly as it relates to our planetary twin in Venus.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm very excited we get into that. So thank you for everyone tuning in around the world. And let's go ahead and get right on into it. Indeed. I'm not sure on your end, just to be clear, there's a little bit of static. So I don't know, maybe you want to try to unplug. It's also sounding like a little bit of echo or feedback just for folks listening in.
Okay.
It's okay.
Okay. Let me unplug and see if you can hear me better.
Okay.
Is better now?
Yeah, actually, it's reduced the static for sure.
Perfect. Perfect.
Okay, and I don't think I hear any echo feedback. All right, but thank you for that, everybody. We know this is real time, making it happen. But as we move in with the Earth's pulse, there's so much lining up right now, and I'm excited to enter this exploration. Take it away, Ruben.
Yes, well, like I mentioned before, we just went through this eclipse portal on. For some people, it took place on the 13th of March and the 14th of March for some other people. That happened to coincide with the beginning of this wave spell of the star. And the second day was the red lunar moon. So it was a great synchronicity to start the eclipse right with that energy of the red lunar moon, because as we can see in one of these images from space.com, these are pictures taken by photographers around the world from this last eclipse, which was nicknamed also like a blood moon eclipse because it has this reddish color because of the refraction of the light. And now that we are entering this eclipse window that will last until March 29th, when we have this solar eclipse, we are in a heightened stage of cosmic events. And the eclipse, the lunar eclipse, is just the kickstart for that roll of events, the string of events that are going to bring us into a new galactic cycle and a new point, a new start point within the Venus pentagonal cycle, which is what we are going to go deeper tonight. And as we can see in the next slide, this is also a season, like we mentioned on our last episode, that is highlighted by the presence of the northern lights or the aurora phenomena. This is due to, like we mentioned also last week, this is because the sun is crossing the galactic equator. For those who don't know what is a galactic equator, it's basically the projection of the equator of the Earth into space. So when the sun does that, it starts to hit at noon right at the equator line. and that opens up the magnetic fields at the poles, and we have more solar plasma reaching the Earth. So this is the more intense time of the year for aurora to take place, and this is perfect because we are going to have like a beautiful set of events to look forward, including the rising of the star Venus with the aurora. So we may get in the future, hopefully, some beautiful images that capture all of that beauty, because as we know, time is art, and we sometimes forget about that. We live on a rush every day, the day-to-day obligations and responsibilities, but we forgot to look up to the sky and remember that time is art, and that the cosmos is giving us every night a beautiful show, and that we have the opportunity to connect with these deeper layers that are governing everything on this universe and on this third dimensional plane. So
Real quick, I want to pause it real quick to ask, what's the opportunity in this window, as you said, at that point of alignment? You know, what do we advise best to do in that space?
yeah, well, first, in my humble opinion, because everyone will take this time as a different opportunity, but since we are having many celestial events synchronizing with the start of a new galactic cycle, a new cycle of 260 days, this is a time to really check on what aspects of our lives already play their role, and we need to let those go so that we can empty ourselves to receive everything new, these new energies that are incoming. So these are times of closings and new beginnings, big time, as we are going to explore tonight. There are many reasons to say that. This is not just light talk. This is a major alignment that is taking place between the third dimension, which is the events that we see in space, and the fourth dimensions, which is the cycles that we measure in time. So it is a window of opportunity to really let go of all those aspects that, especially shadow aspects, because the eclipse season is always working or helping us to do that, to let go of the old and bring in the new. But because this time is coming with the eclipse, with the equinox, the spring equinox in the north and the fall equinox in the south, and with a new morning cycle of Venus, then it's heightened. Not every time we have the opportunity to really pack in such a short period of time so many cosmic events and a new galactic spin.
Thank you for helping explore that a little bit more, just for the opportunity. I think as you said, it's a very, very important time just to make that conscious.
Yeah, and as we can see, this is from space weather tonight. Also, we just put this on the screen because a lot of people are starting to look at Venus, and it's right now disappearing. So it's in this picture. This is an animation, actually, that we recommend people to go to spaceweather.com. It's on front page, that Venus seems to be on fire, which is very fitting to this window, because as we know, the equinox is like a moment that we start to bring that internal fire out and really connect with our hearts. So since Venus is associated with relationships and with love, this is really a special time to examine our relationships, who are in our close circles, which relationship already play also their role, and we need to let go. And the fact that it appears that the planet is on fire, so it's that fire of transmutation that we need to go through during this window. And the beauty of this is that we are also completing or synchronizing with other cycles connected to the star Sirius. And we are going to explore that on the Time is Our section in detail. But the idea is that we tune into, if you have the chance, right now Venus is still closing its evening star period or cycle, and it's appearing like it's on fire, and soon it's going to disappear. Right now is right above the sky after sunset, but it disappears really quick. So in the coming days, it will completely disappear and go into the flaring. It will be lost in the light of the sun, and then re-emerge as the morning star at the end of this month of March and the beginning of the new galactic spin. So this is a moment to also connect with that consciousness of this planet, because as we will see also, this is the planet that is most closely related to our planet. So that's why we speak about this is the planet of relationships and love, because of the relationship that those two planets have. Is a harmonious relationship, also governed by the golden proportion or the golden ratio. And we will explain that with graphics in the coming sections.
Let's go ahead and sync in and tune up.
Yes.
Thank you for tuning in with the Galactic Spin. Indeed, as we are navigating the 37th cycle of 52 years, this NS 137, the Blue Rhythmic Storm year. This energy has been very, very catalytic, very transformative. I'm sure everyone has their own experiences with this moment, and particularly this energy of this powerful, powerful year. In light of that, we just like to continue to make conscious where we find ourselves in the timing cycle. And we look forward to this wave spell here. Let's see.
Yeah, this is the planetary service wave spell, which
Yep.
is 13 moons in this hologram of a spiral of 13 units. We are in the 9th position, which is the solar moon of intention. So as we can see on this diagram, each of the units of this wave spell is one moon comprised by 28 days or 4 periods of 7 days each. And we are right now where that little green square is. We are at the midpoint of the second heptad, or the second week of the solar moon. And according to the fractal count of 13 kin equals 13 moons, this entire moon is governed by the energy of the yellow solar sun, which is what we see in the next. This is basically the entire year is comprised here. Every of these units corresponds to one moon. So this entire moon 9, or the solar moon, is very fittingly coded by the yellow solar sun. So we have again the energy, the solar energy, very present. And let's remember that the solar sun is kin 100, which within the matrix of 260 kin, it's precisely the first golden section of the Tzolkin matrix. So this entire moon is basically also an opportunity to tune in to these ratios and these mathematical proportions that govern everything in life, not just the fabric of space, but also the fabric of time. And this entire moon, the solar moon, is, as we see on the next slide, which is part of we invite people that if you have not downloaded your 13 moon 28-day synchronometer, this is the link that you see below, and the artwork is designed to represent these golden sections and the golden proportion of the year. And the entire moon is governed by the energy of the sun, which stands for is the power of universal fire, life, and enlightenment. This is an opportunity to really light up our internal fire. And the question that we are asking this entire moon is, how do we attain our purpose, or how do I attain our purpose? So this is an opportunity to connect to the first, or the magnetic moon, which is the moon of purpose, because it's the point, as we can see on the diagram, is that bottom right square at in one of the ends of the spiral that brings the energy to the next level. So here in the waste belt structure, every time that we see the shift in direction, there is also a shift in the energy. And this entire moon is actually giving us that powerful new energy to finish the entire hologram and in the 13th moon. So this moon of intention is also, of course, now that we are speaking about endings and new beginnings, to set out our clear intentions for this new galactic cycle that is starting, and the new life that is coming in the northern hemisphere, or also the invitation to go inside, which is happening in the southern hemisphere with the fall equinox. So it's a very fitting and synchronistic way of really connecting to the deeper layers of this time, to really have all this window to connect with our intention for not only the coming galactic cycle, but everything that is aligning up to the golden intersection of time. And so this is basically the last spring equinox before the golden intersection. So it's really powerful, because the energy of the sun is really the alignment of the sun and the earth. Let's remember that equinox is equal day, equal night. So it's a point of balance to really restart the cycle with a new intention and new energy. And as we can see, this entire solar moon is filled with the cosmic events. We just highlighted here the most important ones. We already commented about the lunar eclipse. Then we have the equinox on the 20th of March, then the Venus-Earth conjunction on March 23rd, then a new galactic spin on March 25th, and then we close that powerful window with the solar eclipse on Kin 5, March 29th. So in the next slide, we line up all those portals so that people can really, if you don't have your almanac, well, you just make note of those dates. March 14, March 20, March 23rd, March 25th, and March 29th are the big points of resonance for this entire moon.
Or can we actually say solar moon 8? solar moon 14, solar moon 17, solar moon 19, solar moon 23,
Very important.
as a way to also frame it for our consciousness, because this is about the shift in consciousness as well. So,
Yes.
yeah, amazing. I love that graphic, though, to see it laid out like that, just to know that there's such a compression of powerful events happening at the completion of this Tzolkin 53 is just very, very important to make conscious.
Yes. And I think this is a good point to really enter into what we are going to explain tonight, which is this relationship between the equinox and the Venus cycles and the eclipse cycles, because they are all interrelated. So it's a beautiful tapestry that the cosmos is weaving for us, and we just, thanks to the tools of the synchronic order, we have the opportunity to really appreciate the deeper layers of what is going on. Yeah, this is, oh, I forgot. Yeah, this is basically one, like the main image that we want to present, because this is the pyramid of Kukulkan in Chichen Itza, where this is an image taken precisely on the spring equinox. This also happens on the fall equinox in September 21st. And as we can see, the light and shadow show that the sun gives on these days is that we can see the perfect play of light and dark in the triangles that go, 7 triangles that go down from the top of the pyramid to the bottom, where the head of the serpent enters the earth. Being the serpent really this energy of the sun, the life force of the sun that is really fertilizing the earth, is penetrating the earth to bring the new life in. So this is a beautiful expression of architecture, art. Let's remember that each of the sides of this pyramid has 91 steps, which counts for the 4 seasons. Each season has 91 days, or 13 weeks of 7 days each. And the top of the pyramid represents that null day or day out of time, which is day 365. So this is one of the expressions of the most advanced time science that humanity has ever devised. And it's here in Mexico where we can really appreciate, not only in Chichen Itza, but in many other temples, that all of them were really built to measure these passages of the sun through the seasons and the alignments with the earth, bringing new life and fertility.
Profound when you really think about it, that's a timekeeping structure, as it
Yes,
is, like you've explained. I
during
mean,
time. Because let's remember, a lot of the codices were stolen or burned. So monuments like these, they stand the passage of time, and we can really still be able to perceive in real time, when we go through these alignments, the beauty and the exactitude, the precision of the architecture and the engineering that takes place in these sacred sites.
Mm-hmm. I want to give a shout out to folks in the live chat just at this moment, because there's some intention setting and really helping create a sacred space. As we've said from the first episode, this is a journey, a ceremonial journey, and making this voyage together to the fullness, the realization of the golden intersection of timelines. So special shout out to everybody showing up in the chat, sharing their intentions for today, for this equinox window, for these reflections, but also for the moons ahead, because we want to bear in mind that this equinox now is a bookend with the autumnal equinox that precedes golden intersection as well. So there'll be a powerful time to anchor our intentions now and really bring them to fulfillment, and that balance of that play of the shadow and that light, that light and dark, but what that really represents in the balance of all things. So it's just wonderful. I'm just kind of tracking what's happening in our chat, and I just wanted to shout out folks
Wonderful.
participating
Yeah.
as we've invited.
And of course, another recommendation is to go into nature and during these portal days and connect with nature. Just for a little while, just let go of our normal day activities and go to, if you have a special archaeological site to visit, or a special mountain, a special lake. These are all powerful vortices to experience these moments in time and connect at deeper levels with that intention and with the energy that the earth is gifting us. And as we can see here on the galactic cycle of 260 days, we are closing another 260-day cycle. We are in the cycle of the yellow star that goes from kin 248 to kin 260 cosmic sun. And we are transiting that last 13 column of the Tzolkin matrix that we explored in depth 7 days ago. And let's remember that these are 5 cycles of 52 days each that we are closing. One red to initiate, one white to refine, a blue one to transform, the yellow one to ripen, and the green one to bringing all them together into a new cycle, to alchemize all those energies at the center. As we can see in the next slide, this is the array of those 5 cycles of 52 days each, 4 cycles of 13 days each, one red, one white, one blue, and one yellow. So that's the beauty of the synchronic order and the Tzolkin, is that we can perceive the order at such amazing scales and in these different arrays and the structures of the Tzolkin matrix, that we are able to understand what is happening. Here we are at the heart of the cycle in the journey board, the green castle of enchantment, a moment to synchronize. That's what the green color represents, synchronization. And well, this is basically the last cycle that is, as we can see, is full with events, prophetic events, including the synchronization of the 12 years of Pope Francis being elected, coinciding with a total lunar eclipse. And we are right now, today is the 13th day of that 13th column of the Tzolkin. On kin 256, as we can see, we have the equinox. Then on kin 257, we complete 621 Tzolkins from the papal bull that brought the Gregorian reform, the Gregorian calendar reform. This is also a special window because as we will see in the coming episodes, every time that we hit that threshold of 618, 619, 620, 621, we are also close to the golden ratio. That's why on October 15, when we close those 443 years, we arrive to the golden number. So there is a fractal quality of the golden ratio that expressed at a macro scale and a micro scale, and that we will be able to see in the, as I mentioned, in the coming episodes, with more detail and with infographics, so that we can really understand and comprehend the relationships that the golden ratio creates at a fractal scale within these larger cycles. And then March 22nd, and March 23rd, because there is some discrepancy. Some people say that it's the Venus-Earth star point, or the conjunction, which is really the alignment of Venus in between the Sun and the Earth, the passage of our closest neighbor in between the Sun and the Earth is going to take place between March 22nd and March 23rd. And it will synchronize with prophetic events like the 1422 years from Pakal Bhutan's arrival and the 14 years of Balun Bhutan departure to Earth on that solar 17, the 17th day of this solar moon. And it's synchronizing also with 17 Tzolkins, since the Pope stepped down, the last Pope stepped down on akin to 59, that was Gregorian year 2013, on the 11th of February. That's when he announced that he was leaving the throne of the Vatican. And that day we had a major sign from above, this thunder or this lightning striking St. Peter's Basilica. So the fact that this year this event is synchronizing with the anniversaries of these two important figures within the prophecy that we are tracking, which is the Telectonon prophecy, one being Pakal Bhutan, the Maya sage and king who left the prophecy, and Jose Arguelles Balun Bhutan, the human being who decoded that prophecy. So let's remember that thunder, that lightning striking the St. Peter's Basilica, took place exactly 52 days after the closing of the cycle, the closing of the 13th Baktun. And that this year we had the Pope entering the intensive care room in Rome on February 14, Kin 222, the white magnetic wind, the symbol of spirit and the breath. And he was diagnosed with a respiratory crisis. So this is basically the old is, if we read this in between the lines, is that the old is getting out of air, really, and is giving space to the new, which is about time.
Yeah, I'd like to even comment that when you look at the cycle and we comprehend that we're looking at the actual final spiral of this Tzolkin spin, then it does appear that a lot is being summed up and cleaned up in this window. And I feel like that's one of the intentions that we want to really hold, is that, as you were saying before, a chance to release, not only release in a good way, like where we're really releasing with intention to liberate everything, the energy entirely, to a higher octave, a higher vibration, because these are the contracts or the static of multiple centuries worth of the domination code, basically being effectively dissolved. And when we talk about the Telectonon prophecy of Pakal Bhutan, we are talking about effectively the shifting out of the Babylonian calendrical domination code sort of structure that has kept everything in this static state, it seems. So I think it's interesting just to kind of qualify, in a sense, what we're observing, and kind of, as we're gathering a sense of what's happening, we can really appreciate the flow pattern, if you will. There's so much because when you think of, things getting sort of flushed out, it feels like things are literally being flushed out of like this sort of, I don't know, out of the system, as it were. Things are being flushed out and cleansed. And so as we enter this new cycle, and particularly this moment of balance with the equinox coming up, that's a place to be in the presence of one's perfect state of balance. Because really what we want to achieve, I would say, in a higher order is a rebalancement in any case. Like that's the point, is to bring things to a new state of balance. So just wanted to kind of speak to that as we look at the graphic, just to appreciate all of that congestion of events, if you will, or the multiple layers of synchronization of what it appears. Specifically, when you look also at this full moon, blood moon lunar eclipse that precedes the equinox, and as we know, right into the beginning of the new year, we'll have the partial solar eclipse as well, bookending on the other side. I think it's just as a part of the new beginning, essentially, also.
Yes.
And the Tzolkin cycle 54.
Yes.
So
and let's remember that 53 is also a key number within the entire hologram of the new time, being that we have every year 52 weeks or heptads of 7 days plus 1 day of time, which makes the 53rd unit of time of every year. So that's why 53 is considered the cycle of Syrian rebirth, because it's basically after that day 53, that 53rd cycle, the day out of time, that we start a new galactic year in terms of a new cycle of 13 months that starts July 26. So in this case, this is a fractal in Tzolkin, so 53 galactic spins. Let's make a difference. A galactic year is a cycle of 13 months, and a galactic spin is a cycle of 260 days. One is 364 days plus 1 day out of time. The other one is a cycle of 260 days. Because we have noticed that some people get a little bit confused, and they confuse the two cycles and think that every year we have the same kin on the same solar day or the same Gregorian day. And there is a difference of 105 days in between these two cycles. So every year we are going to be 105 kin apart from the year before. That's why the two systems interlock with perfection every 52 years, so that when the cycle gets renewed, we enter that frequency of Syrian rebirth. The new Sirius cycle, is 52 years, 1987 to 2039. And then in 2039, on July 26, we start another cycle, new Sirius cycle 2 of 52 years. So this is the beauty and the elegance. Let's remember that those are the hallmarks of this cycle of the star: beauty, elegance, and art. And we certainly see that all these events aligning right for that energy of the star, including the fact that the glyph of the star represents the star Venus. As we will see on the next segment, there is a major connection between eclipse cycles, the equinox, and the seasons, and the Venus cycle that we are going to explore.
Excellent. Thank you, Brother Ruben, for all the hard work that you've put into tracking this for several years, in fact. And I put a link in the live chat also for folks to follow up, and it's also in our show notes. But for more information on these Venus cycles that we're going to get into very in depth, you can also visit venuscalendar.org. I just wanted to posit that before we went any further. Indeed. And time is art.
Time is art. And yes, well, this image, we did it to really capture the beauty of this closing of the star wave spell. and the image of Chichen Itza, which is also consecrated to Quetzalcoatl or Kukulkan, the feather serpent, this mythic complex of ancient Mexico that brings the energy of a new life into the earth. And so was Venus. No? So the symmetry and the beauty of what is happening can only be perceived through the lens of the synchronic order. This is because, as we see on the next slide, the cycles of Venus were used to navigate in ancient times. So we see probably that the star that we see in maps may be connected to the symbol of Venus that we see on the top right of the screen. That's the original Lamat glyph that the Maya created. At the bottom is the representation of the galactic Maya count, which is basically the same symbol but with less detail. And at the center, we see the Sumerian glyph or representation of Venus, which connects precisely the four and the 4 points and the four corners of the glyph represent also those 4 seasons and the 4 points in between each season. So those are basically the markers that the ancient people will look for to navigate time and to navigate space. That's why we have the 4 directions in the navigation star with the points, the midpoints in between each direction, also signaling the diagonals. So the Venus cycles were carefully followed not only by the Mayan, but many other ancient cultures since the beginning of time. Why? Without GPS, satellites, or telescopes, at the time it was necessary to carefully observe, track, and understand the broader patterns and cycles in nature. This is basically, it was used for survival because in times of migration and the change of seasons, and when we didn't have instrument to measure, it was all observation and careful attention to the larger patterns in time that will allow people to make it to the next cycle. Studying the movements of our brightest stars to use as celestial markers in the sky became a method of orientation for navigating the Earth by land and sea during times of climate change and migration. Now we can follow these movements to navigate the ocean of time as well, which is what we are doing today. And in the next slide, we see how the connection with Venus is also part of the mythic art in many cultures. We have, of course, in the West, the representation of the goddess of love, and the Renaissance, you really make the climax of that representation of the goddess. We have also ancient goddesses that were more voluptuous, representing that bountiful nature of the earth. And at the bottom we see also the goddess, the Sumerian goddess Inanna. And as we can see, she's also connected with those 4 aspects or the 4 seasons of the year. So the mythic complex of Venus as the goddess is part of that connection of the star with the cycles of fertility, and especially as we see in the next slide in Mesoamerica during ancient times, Venus was part of a complex symbolism that was related to rain and corn. This conceptual association is abundantly evidenced historically, ethnographically, and archaeologically. One of the best known facts is that the god Quetzalcoatl was associated with Venus on the one hand and with rain, corn, and fertility on the other. The feather serpent was a mythical being that since ancient times represented celestial water, clouds, and the rainy season. So we have again the same theme going on: fertility, life, the renewal, and on the top we see different representations from different cultures in Mesoamerica, mostly Maya, to represent the cycles of Venus. And at the bottom we already see the personification of that within the Aztec culture, which is the god Quetzalcoatl, that is bringing also that energy or that quality of the renewal of life. He is represented as a twin of another deity called Tezcatlipoca, which represents Venus as the evening star. This is the representation of Venus as the morning star. And those two aspects, as we can see on the next slide, is what make the Venus cycle. I forgot to mention this. Also within the ancient Maya culture, some researchers like Maurice Cotterell already explored the possibility that the start of the ancient Maya long count in the year 3113 BC was connected to an event that took place in Venus that shifted the cycles of the planet. It may have been the flipping of the poles of the sun that affected the orbit of Venus and the movement of Venus. It could have been also that an asteroid hit the planet and changed its rotation and its speed and axis of rotation. But certainly it seems that it's connected to the start point of the measuring of the 13 Bactuns. This is explained in a book called The Mayan Prophecies, as I mentioned, by Maurice Cotterell. And it's interesting because it's connected to that energy of the red magnetic dragon, which would have been the Katun number 1, or the first cycle. Let's remember, as we mentioned on our last episode, this is a representation of the 260 cycle, 260 unit cycle, in which this fractal expression represents one generation per unit. So each kin is one generation, approximately 20 years. In Mayan terms, it's called a katun. So we have 260 katuns in the entire cycle of recorded history that we explore in detail 7 days ago. We invite those who didn't have the chance to watch that episode to really go there, because we are still in that 13 column of the Tzolkin. That is a fractal representation of the 13 Bactun, when we have the transformation of matter and the mechanization of time. That's what we are redeeming, and that's why this last cycle of the star is bringing us all these portals right at the end, just to, like you mentioned before, kind of flush or transmute everything that is karmic debris that is left behind, so that we can start a new cycle with a new energy. So basically we will be entering this new cycle of Venus also with that in mind, that when we enter kin 1 on March 25th, well, we are connecting with that rebirth of Venus. And let's remember that these two planets, our planet and Venus, are connected by in our page, the venuscalendar.org website. We can see the many layers of resonance. We are just highlighting here the most important ones. Venus is often referred to as our sister planet because of similarities in size, mass, density, and volume. The third brightest celestial body after the sun and the moon has also been called Earth twin planet because Venus is the closest planet to Earth. Venus is the planet closest in size to Earth, in volume. Venus appears to be almost the same age as Earth, and Venus has a similar density and chemical composition. There's the rocks and the minerals that are found in Venus, not the atmosphere. The atmosphere is very toxic there. And as we can see at the bottom, even the astronomical signs of both planets are similar. And this is based on the pattern that we see happening between the two planets, the tapestry that they weave. Every 8 years, we see this beautiful rose. It's called also the rose of Venus, that creates a pentagonal flower. And what we are seeing here is a time lapse of 8 years that was created by the people from Brightside. So to give credit to the source. And this basically reveals this relationship, this harmonic relationship between the two planets with the golden proportion. The ancient sky watchers noticed that every 8 years, Venus completes 13 orbits around the sun, like a hologram of 13, and that during these 8 years, Earth and Venus meet for 5 times to create a 5-pointed star around our closest star, revealing a perfect musical relationship between both planets, 5, 8 to 13. So 5 conjunctions, internal conjunctions. We will see that we have also external conjunctions, but since we are measuring the morning and evening cycles as one unit that represents the day and the night in one time of that one unit of time. These 5 conjunctions take place during 8 years, and during those 8 years, Venus has orbited 13 times the sun. So we have that musical array or musical relationship between the two planets. There is also many aspects within the distance of the Earth to the sun and Venus to the sun that connect with sacred ratios. And when in the website, you can go deep into that. We didn't want to extend today the presentation, but let's remember that since we are approaching the golden proportion and this cycle is governed by that golden ratio, well, this is a moment of recalibration at that planetary scale. We already mentioned that we can also find this proportion within the 13 moon structure, and this 13 moon structure can be divided in a section of 5 moons and 8 moons, or 8 moons plus 5 moons, where we are right now. We just crossed the 8th moon, and we enter the last 5 moons of the 13 moon year, making a perfect fit for what is happening with at a planetary scale with Venus. So since the most natural way to connect with time, as we mentioned before, is one day and night as one unit, Venus also brings that into a larger framework, which is the cycle of morning star, where we see Venus rising before the sun, and the cycle of evening star, which we see Venus rising after sunset. So those two aspects or phases of the star are invitations to connect to, of course, the morning star with the beginning, and to the evening star, the ending. One is external, going out into the light, and the one is internal, going within. And as we can see in this diagram, both cycles, the evening appearance and the morning appearance, last approximately 260 days. This is on and off because nature is not perfect, it's organic. But as we can see in the orbit of Venus, if we start at the bottom, where the morning star cycle starts and goes up, and then Venus goes behind the sun before becoming evening star, and that period is around 50 to 52 days. And then when it comes out of the glare of the sun, it starts the evening appearance of 263 days. And the beauty of that is that right now, the last evening apparition of Venus, as we can see on the next slide, took place precisely at the start of the 260-day, this current 260-day cycle. It took place on July 7th, 2024. The energy of the blue electric night, Kin 3, that was the 14th day of the 13th moon of the 13th moon year. That was the prior year, the year of the white Overton wizard. And this closing of this cycle 53 of 260 days that we are about to wrap up will bring the coming conjunction before the morning star appearance. If we go back to the last slide, we can see that in between the evening star apparition and the morning star, there is around a period, depending on where we are on Earth, about 8 days. This time, I don't know if it's because it's close to the equinox, because remember, this is a discovery process that we are doing here also. It's going to happen a little faster. So we will have the conjunction, or the passage of Venus in between the Earth and the Sun on the 22nd, 23rd of March, and then the emergence as morning star about March 26th, the 20th day of the solar moon, on Kin 2, the white lunar wind, almost synchronized with the start of the Tzolkin. So here we can, thanks to this synchronization, we can appreciate how those morning and evening stars are really a measure of the 260-day cycle. And the Maya were experts in connecting that framework of the Venus cycles with the eclipse cycles that, let's remember, every eclipse season or eclipse pair, which is one lunar solar eclipse window, or solar lunar eclipse, because sometimes it inverts, takes place every 173 days, and 3 cycles of 173 days is approximately 2 Tzolkins, 520 days. So there is a framework that the Maya use, according to John Major Jenkins, which is the pioneer in reconstructing this cycle and finding the connection with the Tzolkin, because this is a cycle that has been kind of forgotten by the timekeepers, because the destruction of the records. The record of the Venus cycle is still in Germany. It's called the Dresden Codex, and that's where the Venus cycles were recorded very carefully for many generations. These are nested cycles that we only are exploring here the 8-year cycle, but there is a larger cycle called the Venus round. It's 104 years. So the fact that we have the opportunity right now to experience in real time this synchronization between the emergence of Venus as morning star coinciding with the start of a Tzolkin cycle is remarkable, because that doesn't happen every now and then. It takes some time, and the last time really that we started to measure that was the Venus transit of 2012, which took place on June 6, 2012 on Kin 9. Let's remember that since a Venus transit is the moment when Venus passes in front of the solar disk, because right now it's going to pass above the solar disk. So we are not going to see the planet crossing the disk. That only happens every 113 years. That we see that small eclipse of Venus going through the solar disk, and that happened last time on June 6, 2012, and it will not happen until December 10, 2117. That moment of alchemical conjunction between the light of the sun, the actual light, and the planet transiting that ocean of plasma and light. So this is a very beautiful way to close Tzolkin 53. Let's remember that 53 is also associated with the energy of Quetzalcoatl, as the prophet Seacatl Topiltzin Quetzalcoatl was born on the equivalent of Kin 53, the year 1 Reed or 1 Ben, and that is Kin 53. So the fact that since time is fractal and all these numbers speak to us in layers, well, closing this Tzolkin cycle 53 since the start of the new time with such an amazing alignment is just another layer of the prophecy that is revealing itself in real time, and that we have the opportunity to appreciate only because people like John Major Jenkins and Jose Arguelles left these tools and these records, years of work, to allow us to measure and keep their work alive. So this is a work in progress.
I was going to say, I'd like to take a moment just to also mention that you and I have had the chance to be in Chichen Itza at the observatory, in specific, that was used at that complex to track Venus specifically, among the observations made. So we had a chance. I want to say that this was around 5 years ago at this time, where in a ceremonial way at that point, we left some offerings there in front of the observatory with the intention of, we didn't know where that would bring us, but it's obviously brought us here to have a discussion about the significance of the Venus cycles in such a time compressed window at the completion of the 53rd, as you said, 53 representing the magnetic Skywalker, if you will, or 1 Reed, 1 Ben. Also, you being Kin 113 yourself, the solar Skywalker, should not be lost on us here, because as you just explained, there's a frequency of 113 years between the Venus transit.
Yeah, actually, that was the trigger that really brought me to learn more about the cycles of Venus, because at the beginning, this was very new to me and very strange. It took some years to really comprehend and fully grasp the layers of it that
Yeah.
are still unfolding. This is like I mentioned before, this is a work in progress, and we learn as we prepare materials for every episode, and this is also one of those opportunities that we are just realizing the perfection and the beauty and the art
And
behind Cycle of Venus.
and making it conscious then on kin 253, right? Let's
Yeah.
be, on again, a Ben day, on a Skywalker day. And,
Yes.
when we were preparing for the show, Ishal and I, we were really feeling the presence of the Skywalker energy really coming through. That's why you see that in the graphics and all of that. But it's very special to note the Skywalker also being the archetype of the prophet. And what
Yes.
this is actually indicating or directing our attention towards is very, very significant. So
Yeah.
between the 53, the 113, the 253, all of these layers of resonance directing or orchestrating this exploration, essentially, that is the quality of the Skywalker, to explore space, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I just want to presence that for folks as well from the qualitative sense.
Of course, and let's remember that this rhythmic Skywalker Kin 253 is the only iteration of the number 13 on the column 13. So the coordinates within the Tzolkin will be on the horizontal axis is row 13, column 13, and the vertical axis is row 13. So we are today at
1313
intersection. So and again, it's important to mention that every time that Venus completes 13 orbits around the sun is when we complete this Venus star pentagram, or the Venus rose, as we can see both in this graphic. The geometry is a pentagonal geometry. It doesn't matter if it's not a perfect fit at times, because let's remember that the orbits of the planets are not completely round; they are elliptical. But it's very close to perfection. And this is also like an opportunity to see it in what is happening in space. Is that as we can see, the red orbit here is Venus, and the blue orbit is the Earth. And every time that the planet goes in between the sun and the Earth is referred as an internal conjunction. Some people call it inferior conjunction, but it doesn't add up, the word inferior, because it's really not below anything. It's really in between, it's internal. And when the star or the planet Venus passes behind the sun, is called an external conjunction. So every time that we have a Sun, Venus, Earth alignment is an internal conjunction, and every time that we have Venus, Sun, Earth alignment is an external conjunction, where the two planets are divided by the Sun. And here, this is from astroseek.com. I forgot to put the credit here. Oh no, it's there. This is the actual factual representation of that cycle. So we can see how the red arrows represent the internal conjunctions, and the blue arrows represent the external ones, and the ones that are creating that small shape at the center of the graphic. Those are the 5 internal conjunctions that go from the year 2020 to the year 2026, and they happen at different in a different with an angular interval of 144 degrees. So there is always 144 degrees in between the first conjunction and the second and the third, and it's the same way that as we draw a pentagram, or that's a child creates a pentagram, in which each of the points, the way we draw it, is really 144 degrees away from the next one, which happens to be also a number connected to the golden proportion. It's just the 12th position on the Fibonacci spiral, and is the only position that is a square and a spiral at the same time. Is 144 is 12 by 12, and is the 12th position of the spiral. So it was really connected to the cycles that the Maya were measuring, called Bactun. Every Bactun has 144,000 years. So days, sorry, 144,000 days. And we see the different fractal layers of what is happening thanks to these frequencies, these numbers, the connection of the 5, the 8, the 13, the 144, the cycles of also the 53, like you mentioned before, the 52 plus 1. So all these frequencies are really weaving a larger pattern, and the way that we represented this geometry, or the Venus rose, in the next slide, I don't know if it's the next slide, yes, it's this one, is basically we created this tool that is called the Venus star matrix, which is basically works like a compass that measures the cycle, the 5 conjunctions within the 5 colors of the Tzolkin matrix. And one being, the first conjunction is a red conjunction, the second conjunction is a white one, the third one is a blue one, the fourth one, which is the one that we are reaching in coming days, is the fourth one, and then we have the fifth one coming on October 24th, 2026. What is special about this, and we already mentioned a little bit, is that this fourth conjunction is taking place with this prophetic marker of the 2 emissaries of the telectonon prophecy, and it's connected also to the last conjunction of the last Venus cycle of 8 years that went from 2012 to 2020. Let's remember and recapitulate a little bit. We decided to measure the conjunctions in this way because the Venus transit cycle of 8 years started with a transit in 2004 and ended with a transit in 2012. So those 2 transit pairs, because transits always happen in these 8-year intervals, those 2 serve as a container for 1 pentagram, and since then we just completed the hologram, measuring a cycle of 2012 to 2020, and now the 2020 to 2028. And the last, the green, so to put it in color, the 5th conjunction of the last cycle took place on Kin 1, October 26, 2018. And that point marked the recalibration with the Tzolkin matrix that we can see in detail here with that 4th conjunction. So basically, after that 5th conjunction to this 4th conjunction, we have 5 conjunctions, and we return basically from the beginning of the Tzolkin to the end of the Tzolkin. I did the calculation, I think it's 9 galactic spins or 9 cycles that we are completing in between those 2. And that's one of the layers that we are just making conscious. The other one is that after we cross this coming conjunction of March 23rd, that is is also happening at the 2 degrees of Aries, being Aries the ram in Western astrology, the symbol that represents the charging of the energy. You are also an Aries, so this affects you. That represents a new beginning, because that's Aries in Western astrology is the 0 degrees Aries is when the equinox always falls in, the starting of that energy, the sun charging like a ram and bringing that new life. And this conjunction that starts a 584-day cycle, as we can see, each of the points of the star is separated by approximately 584 days. And when we complete that mark, it will be October 24th, 2026. That happens to be new zero cycle 1.39, moon 4th, the 7th day. And that on the galactic cycle will be Kin 59. That happens to be the year bearer of the new zero cycle 25, 1.25, that took place on July 26, 2012. What is the importance of this? The importance is that there's 2 major markers in the sky, one being the star Sirius, which is a star. It emits light, but is very far away, but it's one of the closest stars to the Earth, but the brightest one, that was also used for navigation and for time measurement. And the brightest planet, which is Venus, which was also used at a different scale to track these cycles. So the brightest star and the brightest planet are synchronizing in a dance, because it's every July 26 when the star Sirius emerges at this latitude 19.5 degrees as the let's say the morning star. It rises before the sun. For those who are new, basically on every day out of time and July 26 at this latitude of the temples in Yucatan, also in Teotihuacan, 19.5 degrees, 2 phenomena takes place. One is the celestial or the zenithal passage of the sun. The rays of the sun fall perpendicular to the earth, creating no shadows on July 25th, and then on July 26th, that alignment of the sun with the earth at a perfect 90-degree angle coincides with the emergence of the star Sirius in the eastern horizon. That signals the start of new galactic year. So
the heliacal rising of Sirius.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes. So why is that even more uncanny? Because we in doing this, preparing the material for this podcast, is that we notice that 5th conjunction that will close the pentagram and the 8-year cycle will take place on May 31st, 2028. That happens to be Kin 123, the same galactic signature as coming day out of time. So that 5th conjunction, or that 5th cycle of the star pentagram, is going to align is going to be enshrined in between 2 alignments or 2 emergences of Sirius as morning star starting a new galactic year. Basically, the one that is going to take place on October 24, 2026 is going to align with the heliacal rising of Sirius in 2012, and the one in the year 2028 is going to align with the heliacal rising of Sirius this year. the year of the golden intersection of timeline, at least the Gregorian year. That brings us to the next slide, which is basically the realization that the coming Venus-Earth pentagram from 2028 to 2036 will start on the King 124 yellow resonance seed, which is the year bearer of the golden intersection. Again, the resonant tone is bringing us into alignment and resonance with an attunement with these larger patterns in time. And this realization that took place as we were preparing for this podcast is that we are going to have, starting this coming July 26, a 4 Tzolkin interval to the next pentagram, the initiation of the next 8-year cycle in the year 2028. And let's remember that measurement of 4 Tzolkin spins, Tzolkin or 4 galactic spins of 260 days is 1040, which is a fractal of 104, which is a fractal of the Venus round of 104 years. So we see all these fractal layers at different scales playing out for us to really appreciate and tune in, so that we can embody, as we mentioned on our last episode, embody the frequency. This is really not about memorizing it, but feeling it, feeling the resonance, feeling how the numbers and the codes speak more clearly and more loudly as we approach this golden intersection, and that it's all connected to the golden ratio, because that's the harmonic factor that is driving the entire process. The golden number, the golden section, is really the measurement of harmony that connects all life and all the cycles of time.
It's like a thread. It's the thread that is the weaving, right? It's
Yes.
that golden intersection weaving throughout everything. And we can see it in our own lives, as we've talked about in previous episodes as well. When somebody counts their 16,180 day marker, they can see how that actually weaves into their own lives directly, that golden proportion or that golden section of one's life. Yes. Very, very, I feel very effective to identify. It's beautiful.
Yeah. And in the next slide, we can see how, well, there is also, we are living this is the evening cycle. The last conjunction was on Kin 227, the blue rhythmic hand of the Tzolkin spin 52. And that took place on the 4th of June of 2024. And from there to the coming fourth in external conjunction, we are going to have that point in or the internal conjunction. Those are in the watermark that we see there represents the morning cycle, and in the next slide we combine the two, the 5 internal conjunctions with the 5 external conjunctions to make and honor both the morning and evening cycles. And we can, the beauty is that we can map those and really add the signatures of each of the 5 conjunctions to get a new energy and a new clue. In the next slide, we mapped those kin. So basically, the 5 interior conjunctions of this 8-year cycle add to the blue overtone hand, kin 187, and the 5 exterior conjunctions at 2 kin 85, the red resonance serpent. So this is basically one geometry or one expression. We have the 2 cycles, one the morning cycle in red pointing up and the evening cycle in blue pointing down, and we can see how actually the 5 colors of the Tzolkin cosmology help us to reaffirm that relationship between the 2 poles, the north and the south, or the positive and the negative, to complete the polarity. And people get also sometimes a little scared when they see an inverted pentagram, but it is also part of the programming to get away from this cycle. But it's really just an expression of the geometry that we assign that quality, but is not that one is bad and the other one is good. It's just part of a dance that takes place and that follows the rhythm of day and night, but at a larger scale that we have in 584 days, one cycle of as Venus as the morning star and one cycle of Venus as the evening star, each cycle of approximately 260 days, one Tzolkin spin.
I think it's helpful to also point out, to the point of people feeling a bit maybe discomfort as it relates to the programming or the perceptions that have been seeded in us about these geometries. We also have to recognize that part of the process we're going through is to reclaim and regain the cognizance of these natural cycles. And so one of the things that effectively was done by the church specifically was to cause us to think contrarily about the feminine. Let's be very, very clear that that's been a big part of the obscuration or the occultation of 13. I think a similar approach has been also taken with the pentagram in terms of its representation, because as we're also navigating this mood of intention, these codices, these patterns, these geometries are also going to behave according to the practitioner or the person working with these structures in terms of what they're imbuing in them. So we are in a time where, as we're in the process of reclaiming and reframing, we're also neutralizing a lot of the detriment that has been performed with these tools. But let's not forget, these are tools, sacred tools, in fact. And so we want to neutralize the levels or layers that have been attributed to this that are incorrect. It's not to say that irreverent things haven't been done. Let's be clear, that is true. Let's not neglect to identify that, though that's also a symptom of the perversion and distortions that have preceded our application and reclamation of these tools. And obviously through certain institutions or secret societies, there have been some very interesting interpretations, perhaps applied or misapplied, to these otherwise very sacred realities, these sacred intentions. I just want to kind of posit that, because I know that even looking on the screen, there could be many interpretations or misinterpretations of what people may be seeing here. But we want to certainly zoom out and appreciate that time is art. And what we're actually seeing is a representation of these larger, elegant codes and patterns and cycles exhibited by nature itself. I just wanted to posit that as we navigate with this density and this depth of information.
And this spectacular structure permeates many aspects of life, and that's why we have 5 fingers in our hands, because it's the most efficient array of forms in space to create a dynamic function. So the the fact that we attribute our own perceptions to the geometries just takes away the fact that they are part of a larger symmetry that even is part of our DNA. We at the website you can we there is a blog that goes deep into the connection of this pentagonal structure with the structure of the DNA, and when we cut one DNA molecule with a transversal cut, we can see that geometry, the both the pentagram pointing up and the pentagram pointing down. So it's part of the weaving in nature that unfortunately, as you mentioned, has been used to, or misused, so to say the right word, to inflict fear.
Exactly.
And of course, there is also connections that people, researchers mentioned that the morning star cycle was used by the Maya to start wars. And let's examine that a little deeper. And it's probably because armies will need to move in the night. So having the emergence of Venus as morning star will give them a good sense of when the sun was about to rise, when is a good point to start the next stage of the journey. So this is not just because of esoteric reasons. There are practical aspects of this that were used to really survive in ancient times.
Yeah, and I'd also like to reflect the fact that we were saying, in many ways, this is about the divine feminine and how that's represented in nature. And so when we look at the pentagonal shape that Venus, the pattern Venus expresses, but also in the form of physical women, the human woman's form, we see again that five, the principle of five, with the, and also expressed in the, some would attribute the acronym of the name Allah, arm, leg, arm, head, in effect representing again the form of the mother, the life giver. Whereas the Vitruvian man is also sort of represented in a similar array, but some might attribute him with the penis as a sixth extension, so not qualifying as the five. So, different ways and interpretations for this, but certainly all life is sacred, and these are sacred codices that we're in the process of remembering and reclaiming, reconnecting in their divinity, in their proper proportion and frequency.
Yeah, and in this infographic, what we did is that using that pentagonal structure, we mapped the 40-year Venus cycle, which would be an 8-year cycle coded by the color red, and one 8-year cycle colored by the color white, and third cycle of 8 years, that is the one that we just mentioned, that will start synchronize with the year bearer of this coming galactic year on July 26. So as I mentioned before, that third cycle that is going to be governed by let's say that in the same way that each galactic year has a year bearer or an energy that commands the year, every Venus cycle has also like a pentagonal bearer, so to speak, that commands the entire cycle. So for instance, the Venus transit in this graphic, we see that the Venus transit of 2012 that happened on Kin 9 was basically the opening signature for that entire cycle. Then the one that started from 2020 to 2028, that took place on Kin 66, the white magnetic wall bridger. And then the one that is starting that goes from 2028 to 2036 is going to hold the energy of the yellow resonance seed. And as we can see, it also falls perfectly into that structure of the geometry of the cycle. In fact, that the seventh tone is at the horizontal axis of this graphic. So that is these are confirmations that there is a larger pattern that is revealing itself, and that if we just do a little work and apply the right lens, which is the Tzolkin matrix, to measure these cycles, the pattern just blossoms in many layers of fractal aspects of it. In this case, this is like I mentioned before, this is a 40-year expression of the same structure of the 8-year expression. It's just that it's a fractal expression, and we are working on updating the venuscalendar.org website to bring also other layers, like we can now basically, we know that in 8 years, every 8 years of 13 moon each, we have 104 moons, plus 13 days out of time, plus 8 days out of time. So that those 104 moons can be mapped along this same system, and we can have like a more in-depth look at what is going on. Let's remember that 104 moons is basically 2 cycles of 52 moons each, which makes a perfect match for the let's say 52 moons of a morning cycle, and 52 moons of evening cycle. Keep the polarity and that on and off internal, external aspects playing out all the time. We cannot have one without the other. And that's part of the integration that we are striving here to achieve, in that we really let go of all those preconceived notions and programming and attributions of being used for dark or for the light, and really appreciate as a work of art beyond the representations that the mind may or may not assign to each of them. It's really a tapestry, and as we saw on the little clip that we played, is really the weaving of a pattern that keeps revealing more and more layers of harmony and beauty.
It is absolutely exquisite, as you said, when we really appreciate it as a work of art. It's mind-blowing.
It's beautiful, and it's a really an opportunity to humble ourselves to the larger scheme of things, and realize that there is a larger, a bigger intelligence governing not only our day-to-day activities, but the big cycles in time.
Completely. And I also want to mention that we've identified that frequency 104 as very significant to the golden intersection of timelines, in that's the unified cosmic time between the kin on October 14th. So the differences between the counts as well, between the 1320 and the 1328, or the 260 and the 364. You notice it's a difference of 104. Yes. So we see this number, this recurring pattern, 13 times 8, with the complete Venus cycle, the Venus round. But it recurs in everything. And there's something beautiful and in depth about that. And these numbers don't lie. They're communicating relevance to us, and we can draw or infer the qualitative value and meaning as well from that.
Yeah.
So just to help
and
make that
and,
conscious.
and the more we become familiar with them, the more we will be able to see them, because that's what really has been happening. Once the basic structure is mapped out, then it's just about polishing the details and going expanding the hologram or contracting the hologram. We will find the same harmony and the same fractal numbers playing out at different scales.
Absolutely. Well, we certainly, again, we invite folks to visit venuscalendar.org if you want to dive more deeply into this aspect of the timekeeping science. It's certainly an important layer for sure in the synchronic order. So as we've been compelled, and as was also mentioned, the work of John Major Jenkins has been very instrumental, along with the discoveries and recoveries of Dr. Jose Arguelles, in presenting this knowledge and advancing this information and returning it, restoring it to our collective cognition, because it is certainly something for us to track and pay attention with, as we know there is a relationship between the evolution of planets and our own evolution as well. Different spiritual lenses, maybe anthroposophy or others, would assert the same to be true. And so we want to, again, endeavor to make this conscious, particularly as we're on this particular curve right now, as we've talked about in previous episodes as well. As we noted in the solar moon earlier, as we look at the wave spell pattern, we're now beginning the incline or the vertical trajectory upward. Similarly, that's happening with the closing of this 53rd Tzolkin cycle since the start of the new time. It's happening with the synchrony of events that's meant, I feel, to really shuttle us to a higher frequency. If we endeavor to make the effort to stay tuned. It takes effort to stay tuned, let's be clear, because there's so much noise, so much distraction, so much confusion, mayhem, fear, all these variables being projected. We want to be able to find ourselves in the 0 point of it all, in that stillness, and from that point function. I want to again acknowledge folks in the live chat who've been just expressing intentions, because that's one of the ways to engage in the time science. Knowing the quality of this entire moon is about intention. It's a beautiful way to navigate with the intention of the tools, is to be able to apply them to our lives and our own direct experience, our own direct embodiment. So thank you, Ruben, for all the effort in helping make conscious these layers relative to these Venus cycles and the frequencies and the ratios and the patterns and everything that you've really poured your heart and energy into helping clarify for us.
Thank you, brother, and thank you also for being a key part of that process, because the Venus calendar.org website was also done with your energy and your contribution, and this is basically this is a teamwork, and we are really following our hearts and doing this work because we know that it may help more people. It may help the global community to tap into a larger pattern, especially now, like you mentioned, when there is so much distraction, so much noise, that it is easy to forget that there is a bigger, larger, more intelligent force driving this entire process, and that there are no mistakes, and there is only beauty behind all the drama that we see on Earth. That drama is playing out within this divine tapestry of cosmic events.
I'd say intelligent and elegant, in fact. I mean, it's just exquisite. And even with those approximations where it may seem to be slightly off, as you mentioned, the elliptical shape that our orbits take and our planets actually are following these elliptical patterns, not just, or in their own forms, are also formed that way. So it's going to create wobble. It's going to create a little bit of variable and variation.
Yeah.
Yet the ancient timekeepers were so keyed in with their own precision that they were able to leave these irrefutable markers.
Yeah.
That the drift is not so significant given the expanse and the scale that it would really make much difference to our human experience, that we should somehow neglect to respect the elegance and the accuracy and the sacred intelligence within which all of this is created. It's, as you said earlier, it's a very humbling thing, honestly, when you can really bear witness to the immense beauty of it all. And that's just where we're at. So we trust that everyone out there tapping in with this transmission this evening is gathering some semblance of the beauty, both in your own life as well as that around your surroundings, within your family, your community. We really want to amplify the beauty right now because there's enough distortion amplified. It's time to really put the energy and emphasis into the beauty that we are here to inhabit and embody. So we give thanks with that, and we shall continue.
Yes.
So as everyone who's been riding along with us on this journey knows, we are counting up to the golden intersection of timelines marker. And as of this episode, we are 211 days out from the Gregorian date, October 14th, 2025, the first aspect of this golden intersection of timelines. And that's when we'll truly tune up. We're going to tune up at the frequency of 13. We're going to arrive at 13 tunes since crossing the threshold of December 21st, 2012. It's a very, very significant entry into this most important node of harmonic resonance. I don't know how else to describe it. We have many ways we've described it over the previous episodes, but I really have landed on this intention of harmonic resonance. That's what I am experiencing, certainly in this experience process of making it conscious, and certainly want to extend out there in the field for anyone tapping in with this energy. Let's step into a higher frequency, a higher harmony of resonance. That's truly what this moment invites. And when we do reach October 15th, 2025, we'll reach that fractal approximation of the golden ratio, 1.61803 days. That's the fractal approximation of that 1.61803 phi ratio.
Yes.
So that is, again, part of the equation that causes it to be referred to as the golden intersection of timelines, and a most unique, rare moment. It cannot be overstressed how rare this is.
Yes.
It's rare in the fact that it will only ever happen once. You don't get more rare than that. And so the fact that you chose to be here on planet Earth now, thank you, first of all, that your soul guided you to be here now, because we need as many beings of goodwill out there to hold this in their awareness as possible. We want to reach that critical mass. In some ways, we would identify a critical mass, for example, as 144,000 people endeavoring to make this conscious, make it sacred, and make art. Like we talk about time as art. Well, how we apply our awareness of this sacred passage is an artful opportunity. We really invite people to show up however your soul guides you to on this day, knowing that whatever you're putting in that portal is going to magnify like nothing you've probably ever known. I'm willing to bet that's how it will be experienced. I know I'm certainly intending that, so I know that's going to be my experience. Now, we all have the free will to experience it as we choose, and that's also a beautiful thing. All we're here to do is just to invite the awareness to these most sacred nodes of harmonic resonance. Take advantage of this golden opportunity just by being conscious of it. Start there,
Yes.
bring it to your conscious awareness.
Yeah, and speaking about beauty and resonance and elegance, our next episode in 7 days will be on Kin 260, and we will be 204 days to the golden intersection of times that will happen on Kin 204. So that's part of the beauty of the tapestry that is being woven, and that we are just stepping ahead of time and giving a heads up of what is happening, but only fulfilling our purpose here in bringing the good news, because these are certainly good news, and the fact that we are entering this 204-day threshold to King 204, well, and we have all these cosmic events happening to prepare us for that passage. It's really an incredible opportunity to use that energy so that the seeds that we plant within for the next spin and for the next cycle will blossom into magical expressions of life. So this is a time to incubate music, to incubate art project, to incubate that dream that you have always put in the back burner. This is the time to really use this wind that is sweeping below our wings to take magic flight and to bring the consciousness of the planet to the next level. And so the invitation is there for start planning your event for those days. We are inviting people to celebrate it similar to the celebration of a day out of time. Is really celebrate time as art, to become inspired, to come together with community, to go into nature, to do yoga, to do poetry, to do art, to really bring any art form that is a higher expression of the harmony present in nature. So thank you so much for tuning in, and we invite also everyone to go to our website, theharmonicfactor.com, and learn more. We are starting to work on the next almanac for the next year, so we'll be bringing that in the coming months. And yeah, please also, if you have the opportunity, share this with more people. Talk about the golden intersection. Talk about the new time. Make this conversation something that is everyday life, not all the bad news and all the drama that is happening or playing out in the media. There is really an opportunity to focus our attention in something larger and more magical than the daily news.
Really and truly. Shout out to everybody tapping in with us and keeping this frequency and holding this space together. We see you, we feel you, we really appreciate love you. Shout out to all the kin showing up. Continue to share this with folks. As I mentioned at the top of the episode, we're going to be nearing our midway point of this 52-week or 52 heptad ceremony. And your presence is really, truly instrumental. So thank you for showing up on the planet, and thank you for showing up in this sacred space that we generate together. I want to send a special shout out to my beloved Ishel for all of her amazing over-the-top commitment to this mission. She shows up like nobody I've ever met, and I'm so appreciative to her for that. And certainly for our counterpart, Alejandra, for anchoring and safeguarding you, my dear brother, on this journey, because it's a very sacred mission. And we appreciate love the balance that's been afforded us by our feminine counterparts. And one thing I'd like to also posit as we're amplifying this Venus energy and really taking high regard for the divine feminine, and as you mentioned also the balance between the principles of masculine and feminine. One of the outcomes of this effort is to restore the balance
Yes.
And to bring the embodiment of these essences into balance in ourselves as individuals, and then also in relationship and community and socially and as a collective consciousness,
Yeah.
really,
And
really moving in that way. So that's part of the real intention here too.
yes, fulfilling the purpose of these rhythmic storm years, which is balancing the energy, to catalyze the shift that we need to see in the world. So it happens first within, and then we can see it in the outside. But it's
Yes.
really about balancing our left and right hemisphere, our masculine and feminine, our time of activity and our time to rest. So it's all part of this big tapestry of light and dark and in and out that we, masculine and feminine, that is the theme for this entire year. And we hope that what we do here every 7 days can contribute to that end.
Absolutely. Well, with that, everybody, we really give great thanks for your presence on the planet, and we will tap in with you in 7 days' time. We give great thanks, special shout out, and continue to stay in touch. You can find us on our socials, of course, the Facebook group, Harmonic Convergence 2020 to 2028, on Instagram at The Harmonic Factor, on TikTok, and then we're not as active on TikTok, I guess, but regardless, you can find some information there as well that might be relevant to your journey. Certainly visit us on our primary website, theharmonicfactor.com, where you can find more information out about the golden intersection of timelines. You can download a copy of the current year synchronometer for the Blue Rhythmic Storm year, and find all sorts of other interesting and helpful, hopefully helpful information for your journey right there. We give great, great thanks. In Lakesh, everybody.
Ish.
Alakin. Aho.
Tune in with the Galactic Spin podcast and expand your view. Galactic Spin podcast and expand your view.